Oh, no gaseous sound effects today, Liz. Oh, man. I should have known. I should have guessed. You were just holding it back to trick me. I think we're live, but I don't actually know. Are we live? God, you think I would have pulled that up before we started? Chat, let me know. Can you hear what we're saying? It says that we're connected, but there's nobody there. Now, that actually could be true for this production. Oh, we have been live for like 5 minutes. Boom! And we're live. Oh, I went full screen me. Apologies. Let's go full screen Lou. How's it going, Lewis?
Doing great.
Excited to talk about the Apple news this week, are you?
Oh, so much Apple news.
Yeah, we were having a lively discussion on all sorts of things that have nothing to do with anything. And I was saying this is what we should do for off topic. We should just, because like the pre-show is the best part of the show, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I use that word loosely, but contextually for the rest of the show. But we should just show up and just talk about whatever we want for like 15. We should just set like a time limit. It's going to be 15 minutes, and then we show up and we just see what happens. But the problem is it's going to take us 10 minutes to actually figure out anything, and then we'll spend 5 minutes of actual interesting conversation, and then the whole thing will be over. Like what happened with our Disney conversation.
Well, it's that 5 minutes that people tune in for, that they eagerly await.
Yeah, I hope you're right.
Backloaded content. It's the future.
So it gets people listening to the whole thing.
There you go. That's the name of the podcast, Backload.
Surely this is going to get better.
I think it will. And don't call me Shirley. All right, well. Griffin, do you get that reference?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just making sure. Just making sure. I know you're like 17, so I wasn't sure if like you'd seen that movie. Remember when we started? We had Alex Heath on. Actually, you weren't here when Alex was on. Were you, Lewis?
No.
Like, no joke. I think we had to get his parents to sign a permission slip for him to do the show. When I found out how young he was, I was stunned. I was genuinely worried if there was going to be a lawsuit because of child employment laws. And then he ended up going to Vegas with us, and I'm like, are your parents here with you? Like, how did you get here? I wasn't even sure if he was old enough to drive. But that's what made it fun. All right, well. So we do the show.
Oh, boy.
And then there was Buster, R.I.P. How fun it was to have him on. Okay, well, I think we should go ahead and get started because I got to be walking these sweet but muscular buns out the door in 72 minutes, Lewis. You think we can make it? I think we're doing too many.
Might have to turn your microphone off after your allotted time.
Remember, no interruptions. We should hang up on the audience too, just to be sure. Okay, well, let's go ahead and cue up Mrs. You-Know-Who. Oh my goodness, look at our concurrent viewers. No one wants to hear us talk about Siri updates in iOS 18. But you know what, folks? This is the best we could find. If you want us to stick to Apple News, this was it. It is a wasteland out there. There is just nothing going on. Now that these new iPads have come out, and we don't even have the iPads yet. Are you guys even buying one? I don't think we ever even talked about that. No.
Who has that kind of money?
$1,000.
I mean, huh?
$1,000, Lewis. You don't have $1,000 like sliding around?
It's like, why buy another iPad to sit next to the other iPad that I don't use very often for anything?
Oh, I use mine all the time.
Yeah, I don't.
Daily.
I use it. I use the old one more than I use the new one. The old one with the cracked screen. I use it for darts 3 times a week.
Why don't you just use the new one for darts?
The battery doesn't last as long. Plus, the screen's not cracked.
So you want to use the crappy one because you don't want it to you don't care if it gets broken. And so you have a new one that you just end up never using.
More broken.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Tell you what. Let's go ahead and start. Cue up Mrs. D. Oh, Mrs. D.
Missing myself.
Mrs. D. Oh, my dear, did I hear that you had a child on the show? Oh, boy.
Oh, dear God.
Yes, we did, Mrs. D. Oh, I so love children. I had a child once as well. Oh, you did, Mrs. D? Yes, it was El Caney's. Oh! Can you imagine the Mrs. D. L. Katie? Oh, child. Scary. Mrs. D, please. Let's never speak of that child again.
Little kid comes out with a beard.
I'm not sure L. Katie even knows about that child. He's never mentioned him. So, if you don't mind, Mrs. D, let's go ahead and get this thing rolling. We have several topics of great importance that we need to discuss.
And several others, too.
and many others after that we're going to discuss anyway, whether you like it or not. So I'll get the music queued up. We'll get this thing rolling in 3, 2. Hello, and welcome to the CultCast, the best 30+ minute Apple conversation you're going to hear all week long. I'm your host, Airfon Elijah. Joining me today in an effort to further reduce Cult of Mac writer escapes. He's been attending classes that teach horse riding, cattle roping, and hog tying. There won't be any summer escapes this year, am I right? He's the managing editor, Cult of Mac. Lewis Wallace is here. I forgot to show you on the camera. There he is. Look how mean he looks. And that's his happy face. Also joining us, when not typing furiously away at his keyboard, you'll find him working late into the night, one of those giant magnifying glasses over his face, soldering motherboards and repairing technology that are completely, well, not useful in any way, shape, or form, but are cool and have nice startup tones. He's a writer, Cult of Mac. Griffin Jones is here.
Airfon, it's been another week. Have you bought an iPad?
No iPad, although I almost looked at the refurbished site last night for a new MacBook Pro, but I didn't buy one. I almost bought the new Fujifilm X-T50 that they announced last night, which is just like the X-T5, except smaller and more compact and like $500 cheaper. But I can't because I'm going to wait for the X106, which is still in back order. I still have not received one.
They released a whole other camera after, and you still haven't gotten your
Those mofos released a whole new camera. What?
How does the X-T50 compare to the X100V?
Well, it's going to be similar in many ways because Fujifilm is using the same sensor and focusing system in pretty much all their cameras now. And so it's kind of like the Apple strategy in a way where they have this chip and they just have different platforms that utilize that chip. That's kind of what Fujifilm's doing now. And they just keep making cheaper and cheaper products with like the same sensor, but they'll cut out like some of the features. The X-T50 actually looks like a really great camera, but I don't want it, man. I want the gall darn X100 VI, and I cannot believe that it is 3 months since I pre-ordered in the first 90 seconds after orders went live, and I still do not have it. And those mofos at Fujifilm are now releasing a whole new camera. They also made the X100 VI available to people in Japan. I'm like, in Japan, you can't even fulfill the orders for US. Now you're going to add a whole extra group of people who want this camera? I mean, what are you guys doing? So, I don't know, man.
Aren't they based in Japan?
I'm furious.
Don't things go on sale first there?
I don't think so. I mean, maybe in some cases, but I think that the US is such a massive market that oftentimes they'll release the product here first and then in their own countries later. Isn't that kind of weird?
That is bizarre.
But that's the way it works with not just cameras. I've seen it work that way with like gaming consoles and stuff too. So we just have, so many people willing to go up to their ears in debt to buy whatever gets released that it makes sense just to do it here. I don't know if people have access to the same levels of credit that we have here, which is key. Key. All right, look, we're already way off track. I'm reading the chat.
Oh, dear.
To see if there's anything there that we need to interrupt the show to talk about. There's not yet, but I will keep checking back in. We got a nice little show lined up for you. Well, look, that might be an exaggeration, but we're going to talk about these topics nonetheless. We may be about to witness the biggest overhaul in Siri history, and I think Apple's on the verge of actually making it useful. But look, Lewis, if all they do is make it able to understand what we're actually saying, that would be a huge win.
That'd be a bonus.
That in and of itself would be enough for me. But with this combo of Siri and ChatGPT, we might be in for a massive overhaul. We'll talk about that. Let's see here. Griffin's going to tell us about some new features in iOS 17.5 and iOS 18. Double whammy there from the Grifster. We think we may know who's taken over for Tim Cook. Now, Tim Cook's probably one of the healthiest people in America. It wouldn't surprise me if he were still CEO at age 105, 106. And he'll still be able to bench press more than all three of us at that age. But when he does finally croak, which will undoubtedly be at his desk like George Burns.
That's a little much.
Well, look, although he is the closest that we have to an immortal, he's going to die eventually.
Oh my God.
And when he goes, they need someone to take over for him, Lewis. And I think
It's
I know.
taking a turn.
I think I know who it's going to be. I'm not going to say here, though. We're going to make people wait. I will give you a hint, though.
What a tease.
Some people call him the Chin. And I'm not talking about Jay Leno. Although I think Jay Leno would be a great CEO.
Matt Smith?
That's another good guess, though.
Daryl Gurney?
It's Daryl Gurney, ladies and gentlemen.
Me?
Oh, man, your Chin's got nothing on this Chin. I mean, it's like, it's beyond Jay Leno Chin. You know?
I'll work on it.
It's like eye injury, you know, chin protrusion. What else do we have?
Maybe a tweet. Any chance. Any chance at all.
You know what? How do we continue forgetting these things? I got it
We?
locked. And by
I'm sorry. We?
I mean you, because you should have reminded me about this at least 3 minutes ago. But I got it locked and loaded right here. I'm going to type it in. Everyone plug your ears. Boom! There you go. Hopefully I didn't misspell anything. And let's see, what else? Oh, yeah. Folding 20-inch MacBook. We got some rumors on iPhone 17. We've got some rumors on the folding iPhone coming up. We got all sorts of stuff. That's enough preamble. Let's go ahead and dive into it. Oh, wait, no, we can't dive into it yet. Before we dive into it, I want to say thanks to Squarespace for supporting this episode. Squarespace.com/CultCast. So I have this lined up. Oh, thank goodness. Oh, man. For a limited time, take 20% off your Squarespace website plan. Use code May20WD, May20WD. Expires May 17th. So if you're hearing this, you better take advantage of it fast. That's an even bigger discount than we normally get when you use code CultCast. I've been using Squarespace for, I don't even know, 10 years now. And I use it to host the cultcloth.co. And the reason I use it there is not because they give it to me for free, because they don't. I pay for it. But, although I should probably talk to them about that. Maybe they would give it to me for free. Because I'll take it for free. If they'll give it to me for free, I mean, look, I'll take it. But I'm not right now. They're charging me for it. And it's worth it because it just is the easiest way that I have found to set up an e-commerce website and to make money online. And their servers are able to handle the magnitude of massive orders that we get every time we do a show and I promote CultCloth. And they told me they had to place ice packs on the CPUs just to kind of keep those things up and running. But it's always been flawless. I never have any downtime. I don't think I've ever seen my site go down. But the best part is you can design the website all by yourself, drag and drop everything. It's like what iWeb probably would have become if Apple didn't kill it. And you can have a website that has a blog that features your business that you can show to prospective employers. It will be big, it will be beautiful, and it will be functional. You can make money, sell products and services of all kinds. Everything has a beautiful aesthetic to it. They have email marketing that you can use so that your emails to your customers look the same as your website. I mean, they have thought of all this stuff. So if I've piqued your interest, go to squarespace.com/cultcast, squarespace.com/cultcast to start your trial. You don't even need a credit card or anything. Just start building a website, and if you like it, at the end of your trial, well, you have until tomorrow, I think, to use code May20WD, and you'll get 20% off. If you miss the date, you can use code CultCast at checkout, and you'll save 10% off your first purchase. at squarespace.com/CultCast. You would think that I would know what the next story is, but as per usual, I have absolutely not a single clue. Oh, wait.
Ask Siri.
It's going straight back to me. Take it away, me. Apple using AI to make Siri more useful. Again, I don't know if anyone cares about this, but we're going to cover it because, as I mentioned earlier, I think that this could be the biggest improvement to Siri that we've seen since it's been released, and that's because there have been no improvements to Siri since it's been released. In fact, it's only been getting worse. I feel like Siri understands me less now than it did when it was first released. Apple is, of course, going to be making a big push into AI, and there was an interesting report out this week that covered some of the details about what they might be doing with AI, and not only that, but how their realization that they are way behind in AI definitely contributed to them abandoning their car project so that they could dedicate more resources into catching up, which I had not heard before. That was a new piece of the story.
Did you listen to us talking about it?
I mean, I didn't. No, when one of you were talking, I just they're spacing out.
Wait, what's the equivalent of eyes glazing over for ears?
You know what's worse is it was probably me talking about it at some point. That's probably what actually happened, and I don't even remember it. Apple reportedly intends to fulfill the hopes of so many iPhone users by giving the Siri voice assistant an upgrade with artificial intelligence. Siri supposedly won't become a general-purpose chatbot. It'll be focused on better handling the sort of tasks iPhone users need. So I think from what I read, essentially the ones that it already does, but not well. Apple is expected to show off its AI work at its WWDC in June when it releases an improved Siri that is more conversational and versatile. The New York Times reported Friday. The plan supposedly is not to make... I just read that part. Well, I'll read it again for emphasis because I think this is actually important. The plan supposedly is not to make Siri into a direct competitor for ChatGPT. So they're going to enable, generative AI in some capacity. And it sounds like they're even talking with OpenAI, along with everybody else, on how they can weave OpenAI into Siri. I kind of wonder if they're even going to call it Siri, because Siri, the brand, is so tainted at this point that I don't know if they can recover it. It might be dead. So they might need to change the name to something else. But whatever they change it to, if they do change it to anything, they definitely have to make it a name that's easy to invoke so that you can call it. It can't be something long and arduous, because that's how lazy we've all become as a society. Like, people used to break rocks all day with pickaxes, and now if we have to say more than 3 syllables, we can't be bothered to do it. That's where we're at as a society. But let me continue the story here. You didn't want my cultural commentary weaved in there? Too bad. Let's see here. Quote, Apple has focused on making Siri better at handling tasks that it already does, including setting timers, creating calendar appointments, and adding items to a grocery list. It would also be able to summarize text messages. Well, that would be helpful. Maybe also understand the words that are coming out of our mouths so that the text messages don't change he has a ball to he has a ball, like the avocado, which happens to me all the time for some reason. Let's see here. It's assumed that the built-in applications will be able to, for example, summarize emails, web pages, and text message chats. Users will probably be able to seamlessly remove objects from images and perhaps add them, or they might be able to tweak their photos during spoken commands. Okay, blah, 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 so on and so forth. So you feel like we mentioned the fact that the AI thing might have contributed to the death of the car project before, Lewis? Because I don't remember that detail, but it's entirely possible that I completely forgot.
Oh, yeah, that was in the very first report that they pulled the plug on Project Titan, was that they were reassigning people to their AI division.
See, I thought the story was they pulled the plug on Project Titan, and they were going to go ahead and assign those people to AI now that project was dead. But I don't know.
It was to focus on that. It was because they're in a panic.
I all but guarantee you I was the one that read that story, and I can't even remember it. This is like when The Rock, there's like this video I saw today, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, has been putting out like the same Instagram post for like the last 4 years about how he's going to In-N-Out Burger for the first time. And he's done it like 3 years in a row. And he's like, I'm going to In-N-Out Burger for the first time, right? And he's like, I don't even know where to pay. I've never been here before. And people are like, bro, you did this last year, the exact same post. And you've been to In-N-Out Burger before. And people are like, they don't know if he is just doing this to get clicks or if he's literally, if he has Alzheimer's. And actually
Pretty good
doesn't remember.
troll, I gotta say.
It sounds hilarious. Is it at least a different In-N-Out Burger?
Oh, hold on a second. I don't think so.
Oh,
I think
dear,
it's the
what
exact same one. You guys know our favorite chat participant, Hugo Last.
Mm-hmm.
He's here. And he just put another crisp $100 bill into Leander Kenny's pocket, which
Holy moly.
which if you can't tell, I'm actually bitter about. Hugo, I can't promise you this, but I'm going to try to arrange for Leander Kenny to come to your house and sing you happy birthday on your birthday. When's your birthday? Put it in the chat. Thank you for that massive $100. $100 going straight to LK. I'm not sure how to feel about that, Lewis. It should make me happy, and part of me is happy, but part of me is also angry. June 22nd. Okay. Hugo, was that you that messaged me on Twitter? Because we're going to have you on the show, man. And somebody who claimed to be Hugo reached out to me, but I'm not sure it was you. But now you can claim it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes or no. And then I'll get back to you. Yes, it was you. Okay. All right. I'm going to get back to you. That's it. We're going to have Hugo Lasty on the show. Thank you for this money. For one of the reasons we need to have Hugo on the show, so I can ask him what he does for a living, that he can afford to drop $100 into the chat every time that he comes on.
Crypto miner.
He also, I've been receiving just envelopes full of money under my mat on my front porch. I presume it's from Hugo Last. Thousands of dollars a week I'm making. And is that you? Has that been you, Hugo? I don't know. I presume it was you. I hope that envelope full of white powder was not you, though, because I had it tested, and yes, it was anthrax. That was surprising. Okay, we'll wait for him to answer. Okay. Any commentary on that, Lewis? The Siri stuff?
Well, those quotes from the Times are like, it just seems so pathetic in light of the latest thing from OpenAI, right? Like, Apple's focus on making Siri better at handling tasks it already does, like setting timers, creating calendar appointments, and adding items to a grocery list. Wow!
Hearing you say it out loud, it is kind of pathetic, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, did you watch any of what is it called? GPT 4.0?
4.0, right? Not 0, but 4.0, yeah. I saw a bunch of examples, because anytime ChatGPT does anything, all the grifters on Twitter create their stories. New ChatGPT, here are the 15 things you need to know now, so they can get those clicks on Twitter.
Right.
Oh, dude. The
Instant
monetization on Twitter, I think is a good thing, but it's also created like this whole massive group of people who just wait around for something to happen like that so they can put together a list of the 15 things that you need to know so they can try to get themselves some clicks. And it's kind of ruined Twitter, to be honest.
They're creating content. You don't have to unfurl it.
I don't unfurl it.
But like you compare like your experience asking Apple's voice assistant to almost anything versus what you saw in that video, and it's like, wow. It's like a whole other level of excellence, right? I mean, again, it's a demo, so I mean, who knows what it's really like in real life? But I mean, oddly enough, I can't remember any specific examples that I saw, but everything was just the back and forth.
You mean from the GPT demo?
Yeah.
Dude,
Everything
they
was
did a
so
live
conversational.
They did a live real-time translation between a lady speaking Italian and a guy speaking English.
Yeah, I
Yeah, but it's still going to be a demo that they've set up.
Yeah,
Like they know exactly what they're going to say. They've probably tested that exact situation before. And even though it's running live, it might, you don't know if it's giving canned responses or not.
Right.
Probably
and
true.
You don't know what it would be like if you ask it to do the same thing with two other people speaking with different accents. I mean, you always got to keep that in mind with demos. However, I mean, just the tone of voice with the thing sounded like a real person, right?
Yeah.
And the vocal inflections. It's like I remember a few years back when they made Siri sound more human, and it sounds slightly more human, but compared to that, I mean, come on, it's not even second rate. It's like it's embarrassing. Um, I I still often wonder how much people are going to use these kinds of features and how often. But comparing what you saw in the OpenAI demo with what you experienced in day to day was like, oh my God. Yeah, maybe it is a good thing they killed that car project. Maybe it is a good idea that they double down on making this right, because it's just it's just laughable. And I mean, I hope they do more than make it, set timers a little bit better. I mean, that's actually one of the things that it frequently
Does pretty well.
works
Yeah,
for.
exactly.
Like I don't know how much better that needs to get, for instance. But and frankly, that's one of the only things I use it for anymore, because half the other time it doesn't do what I ask it to do, even when it's something it ought to do.
I use Siri mostly on accident, when sometimes it just activates automatically, like it just did when we were having that conversation. And it's like, I can't find a search for brown dogs jump. I think that's what it just said to me. I'm like, what? That's how I interact with Siri for the most part. Not on purpose, but by accident.
Honestly, like most of my interactions have to do with my wife asking Siri a question in a room down the hall, and the HomePod Mini failing to answer it in my office. And my wife just keeps saying it again over and over, louder. Hey Siri, what do you do today? Hey Siri, what do you? I'm like, it's answering it in my office. Quit asking the question. But that's one of the things that I find really annoying.
See?
Sure, just ask. Sorry. I find that annoying that I've got so many instances of Apple devices in my house that are always listening, and Apple says it figured out how to has all this fancy stuff in the background that makes it go to the right one, but 9 times out of 10 it does not go to the one that I am expecting or hoping to have it.
Oh yeah, that happens to me all the time. One last quote out of this story: Apple also fears that if it fails to develop its own AI system, the iPhone could become a dumb brick compared to other technology. So a big part of this is just reactive. Because I think, to your point earlier, Lewis, like a lot of people are scrambling to implement their own AI systems, but don't maybe know what they're going to do with them yet, or if people are actually going to use them. I mean, there have certainly been some compelling use cases that I've seen, but like for a smartphone, especially running locally on the phone, I'm curious to see what features that's going to offer aside from, just doing little tasks. But
yeah, I mean, that translation thing, if they get that nailed out, that would be awesome.
That would be a game changer.
Absolutely awesome. I mean, the translation app is already better than flipping through a book, but compared to what you saw in the OpenAI demo,
dude,
feels.
I mean, talk about helping you with travel. I mean,
right.
to be able to do real time translations, or in any business scenario where you need a translator. AI could honestly put the entire localization and translation business out of business. Because once it gets good enough to understand natural language, if you need something translated, right now you have to pay a translator. And I think that there will still be opportunities for translators in very high level activities like, political translations and that type of thing. Like you're at the UN or something and you need someone to translate for you in real time. Because I think it's important that you have a translator that you trust. And you may not just trust AI to do it for you, but in all other situations, localizations for games, localizations for DVD menus, I mean, all of this stuff that they use teams of skilled language professionals, I think ChatGPT is going to get to a point where it can basically replace all that stuff and just do it for you. And, I mean, people are already using Google Translate for so much stuff. That's why whenever you go on to Amazon and read one of the descriptions, you're like, wait a second. And you read like the description, you're like, I don't know if the English use is right here. It's because a lot of those companies are Chinese manufacturers, and they just translate their stuff in Google and then just slop it onto Amazon. It's like no one even cares at this point. But imagine when it gets like actually good and you feel like you're interacting with a human. It's gonna be crazy. We talked about this way longer than we probably should have. Okay.
I don't know,
We
man.
like to
I think
hear
it's
about-
fascinating,
oh,
and
I do
it's a big deal topic. And I mean, obviously, people are upset with, well, not upset, but irritated with Siri's lack of capabilities. So
I think we're beyond upset. We're basically just we don't care anymore, Lewis.
I was going to
moved
say we're
beyond- yeah.
like, what stage of grieving is that? We're
Yeah.
beleaguered. We're just.
Is that what
I'm
the
just
stage is?
excited to see
Believe-
what they've been working on this whole time. and
Me
what
too.
they're going to announce. So I'm trying to withhold judgment.
Yeah, me too. I like
We'd
that.
like to hear
Good
about
position.
iOS 17.5.
Please get us away from this topic. Please
Okay.
just take us somewhere else. I beg you.
This is a software update that they released on Monday. Here are some of the latest features. It's a smaller update, but there's still some stuff we want to call out. Cross-platform tracking detection is a new system in iOS that notifies users about compatible Bluetooth trackers following their movements. This is something Apple collaborated on with Google. It's a new industry specification. iOS and Android both have it. Cross-platform tracking detection delivers notifications to users if a compatible Bluetooth tracker they do not own is moving with them, regardless of what operating system the device is paired with. So, AirTags do this already. That was part of their whole thing with that. But now it works with third-party Bluetooth trackers too, no matter if you have an iPhone or an Android. That's pretty neat. There's a small,
But also
pool of
not
features. Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it's good if it's good if someone's stalking you. It's bad if someone's stealing your thing, and you're like, now I'm trying to get my thing back, and the criminal keeps getting notified that there's a Bluetooth tracker following him, and he's like, oh great, well let me just throw that in the trash. Perfect. Glad I purchased this AirTag. Sorry, just wanted to add that bit in.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a fair point. There's a few new features coming to the coveted Apple News Plus. Apple News Plus has a new daily word game called Quartiles.
All right, I'll
They
look it
rolled
up.
out
Let's
like
see.
daily crosswords and mini crosswords with iOS 17, but now they're joining the fray of Wordle and connections, and daily word games are making like having a real heyday right now. And now Apple's getting in on the business. In Quartiles, have you ever played the game Boggle?
Yes.
Not in a long time.
Quartiles is kind of like Boggle, except instead of getting like an individual letter, you have like this giant grid of like word syllables, like prefixes and suffixes, and you have to like try and make as many words as you can.
Oh yeah, okay.
Out of the different tiles. And it's pretty fun. I've been playing it every day.
And sorry,
I
did
think
you
it's
say
kinda
this
neat.
is free or
This
do
is
you
part
have
of
to?
Apple News Plus.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah. So if you're
That
on
d-
the Apple One bundle, then you have it, or you can Apple News Plus is like probably one of the worst values of all the Apple services. It's like $12.99 a month. But
Is it
if you're
really
on the
that
Apple One
expensive?
bundle-
Wow.
Is
yeah.
it that much?
That's
But
wild.
if you're on the Apple One bundle like I am, then you just get it, and it's kind of nice.
Yeah. All right.
The daily crossword also has a global scoreboard that plugs into Game Center now, so you can see how your time compares to other people's, or if you have any friends that play the crossword too. Let's see. Finally, there's a new Pride lock screen and watch face, which in my opinion looks pretty cool. They do those every year. I like this one. It looks really neon and colorful. And
Sure,
I think
look
they
for
have
that.
a corresponding watch band that you can buy as well. So that's iOS 17.5.
All right. There you go.
Which is the bigger news, the cross-platform tracking or a Quartiles?
Vote now on your phones.
I wouldn't say either one of them are marquee features here, Lewis. I'm going to go ahead and go out on a ledge.
I didn't find Quartiles to be all that challenging, to be quite honest.
Well, it's just because of your superior intellect. I mean, for
Well, there
most
is that,
normal people, it's like they could barely solve one of the words.
It's true that I said that in the Slack chat. I said, it's not hard at all. But the first one wasn't, and I did go back to some of the archived ones. Some of those posed a little bit more of difficulty, but
Yeah, they probably have a ramp up in difficulty
I don't know.
to
It's like
to
a
lure
ramp
in
back.
like the
Yeah, maybe so.
yeah, keep you liking it, enjoying it. But I won't be playing it because I don't pay for Apple News Plus, and I never will.
Jeez.
No
It's
hate
not
if
bad
you
when
do.
it's part of the Bumble. Bumble.
It's part of your bumble. I just don't really. I don't know. I mean, magazines and newspapers are kind of a dead medium, and
Oh,
moving them to digital form doesn't really help that. I mean, it's like we moved on. We're on the web now. We moved everything to the web. And it's like, but wait a bit. What about my magazine? It's like, well, just move it to the web. No, I don't want to do that. I want to make a magazine. It's got to be a magazine format.
I'll tell you what, man. I'm getting. This is a person in a glass house throwing a stone, but I am getting really tired of websites that are littered with advertisements.
Lewis, do you really want to go down this?
I mean, I understand
this
you
road,
have to make
Lewis?
a living. You need to pay, for instance, editors and writers. But I got to say, going to something like Apple News is kind of soothing because you're not getting bombarded by 57 pop-ups as you try to scroll down a page. I swear to God, the thing that's driving me most crazy lately is when you go to let's say SF Gate, it's the San Francisco Chronicle hybrid website. It's not run by the Chronicle, separate newsroom. Excuse me, but it's just I start to read a page, you start to scroll down. And it just keeps like reloading. It just keeps crashing out in Safari on my iPhone. I'm like, what? I've got the best iPhone that you can buy. What in the world are you doing that is making your website crash repeatedly and reload and reload and reload and reload? I mean, honestly, it's like I used to visit that site multiple times a day, and I've said, I find myself, I still look at it, but I've started looking at SF Standard, which is a competing news source, and their website is, as near as I could tell, like free of ads because it's sponsored by some billionaire benefactor or something. But it's like the difference is night and day, like, and honestly, like at Cult of Mac, we're looking into this. We're trying to once again, change the ad layout and ease back a little bit. It's so intrusive. It's just gotten so crazy. I mean, somebody was complaining on Facebook today, like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, I read your headline. I went to the site. I couldn't see any content at all. And I went, I took a screenshot. And it was like 3 ads on filling up my iPhone 15 Plus or Pro screen, right? And like a couple of words of content visible somewhere in there underneath it all.
They become more and more intrusive too. Like especially on mobile, I was using this site, and as I was scrolling, it like pops up like this full screen ad, and you have to figure out how to even close it. And of course, you always have to like click the X like 3 times for it to actually close, which is probably programmed in.
The tiny hidden,
teeny tiny little X. It is a weird time. I mean, people don't want to pay for content, like myself included. I just don't want to. We're also subscribed out of our minds. Like we have subscriptions for everything now. No one wants to watch ads for anything. Although, funny enough, that in the world of streaming, that is kind of changing. Disney Plus has ad tier now. Netflix has ad-supported tier now. There is this new streaming platform called Tubi, and Amazon has one called Freevee, and they are entirely free platforms that are supported with ads. Gee, what a novel concept. Mm-hmm. So you just pick the content you want to watch, and the ads aren't even that bad. Like you might have to watch 6 ads for an entire movie, and they're not usually more than like 30 seconds each. And so I just mute it and will
go to the restroom
or that. And it's great because you just don't have to pay for these streaming platforms anymore. And what's funny is, especially with Tubi and Amazon Freevee, because these platforms are not paid, they usually will bring like really old content or like a lower tier content, which sounds terrible, but there's a lot of content that you'd see on there that you might actually enjoy, but you would never see anywhere else because it's not considered to be Hollywood quality or something that was popular at any point in time, but might have been like a B or a C movie.
What are you watching?
Maybe that's what I'm trying to say. Like, there's like B and C level movies that are on there that no one else is willing to put on their platforms because they're trying to keep like the best quality content so that people will keep paying them. And Amazon and Tubi don't care. So there's all sorts of weird stuff on there. It's like the day the leprechaun frowned. It's like,
I gotta add that one to must watch.
It's a must watch. And it's like there's all this stuff that is weird. And sometimes I'll just start something and I'm like, oh, this is terrible. but then you'll find something that you actually enjoy. Like for example, there was an era in Nick Cage's career. Hi, somebody's told me pots of gold. Sorry, I spoiled it. That's why he was frowning. I spoiled the whole movie for you guys. There was this era in Nick Cage's career where he was so down and out, and I think he was bankrupt, that he was forced to do all these really mid movies. And I had heard this, but I had never seen any of them. And so I'm going on this stream platform, and there was a movie, I think it was called Left Behind. It's like from like the book series of people being taken in the rapture, and it was starring Nick Cage. And I was like, dude, this has got to be a different topic. Like Nick Cage doing a rapture movie, that doesn't seem right. So I watched it. Dude, that's exactly what it was about. And Nick Cage was an airline pilot, and while he was flying this plane, like the rapture occurs and like all these people get taken off the earth. And it was so horrendously low budget. It actually wasn't bad, but he was the only actor in that movie that could actually act. Everybody else was someone that would never get cast in a major Hollywood production. And they were acting opposite him, and you could tell like how good he actually is at acting because he's paired up with all these people who look like they're acting in like a high school play. And, you know, like he's actually like feeling the emotion. Oh my goodness, the world's been taken. Like he actually is feeling it. And everyone else is just acting like, oh man, oh no, God must really be mad at us, you know? And it was like this weird juxtaposition. We're way off track here. I don't even know where we are, what we're doing.
We were talking about Apple News.
Yeah, all right.
We like to hear about iOS 18.
Please. Oh, wait, before you do that, I have something I'd like to say. Is everyone paying attention? This show is brought to you by Bilt Rewards. At some point, we've all felt that paying rent is kind of like setting your money on fire. We're not building credit, and our rent payments don't work towards buying a home. Well, I'm here to tell you that Bilt Rewards has figured out a way to do all that and make rent more rewarding. They launched the Bilt MasterCard, which lets you pay your rent and earn points without the credit card transaction fee, even if your landlord only takes checks. Bilt will mail one for you. You can then use those earned points towards hotels or flights, towards future rent payments, and even towards a down payment on a home. The Bilt MasterCard is the first card to offer points on rent with no transaction fee. To get rewarded for your largest expense, to get rewarded for your largest expense seems like a no-brainer to me. I'm joking up here. Check it out. I just wish I had Bilt back when I was a renter. Earn points by paying rent right now when you go to joinbilt.com/cultcast. That's joinbilt.com/cultcast. Make sure to use our URL so they know we sent you. Joinbilt.com/cultcast to start earning points with your rent payments today. Terms apply. Now, Griffin, were you saying something that you'd like to talk about? Because
yes.
I'm at a point where I can hand it back to you.
Talk about iOS 18.
Okay, please take it away.
So Apple does this every year where they, I think it's like Global Accessibility Day, they pre-announce some of the new features that they have yet to, like before they actually announce them in June at WWDC. So there's some really cool stuff in here, mostly for iPhone, iPad, and Vision Pro. Eye tracking. The technology that powers the Vision Pro is coming to iPhone and iPad without any external hardware or anything. It's not like an accessory you have to buy. Just using the camera, it uses like AI, and it, quote, lets users navigate through an app and activate each element, accessing functions such as physical buttons, swipes, and other gestures solely with their eyes. They have like a little video about this that we turned into like a GIF in our article, but it's really cool. You know, you see somebody like, you know, just darting their eyes around and they're like navigating through the podcast app. Like, you know, you hold and stare at something for a few seconds and then it like selects a button.
Wow.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, pretty powerful stuff. That's like, you know, the headline feature. But there's some more. If you subscribe to Apple Music, just like AirPhone doesn't either, Music Haptics will use the Taptic engine in the iPhone to play like taps, gestures, and refined vibrations to the audio of the music.
But why?
And say that they have like a few million songs that do that.
Oh, is that an accessibility feature?
Yeah. You
Yeah.
know,
Okay,
if you're
I
hard of
was
hearing,
like-
it lets you. It
I
enhances.
was like, why would you want your phone to do that? That makes more sense. Okay.
Yeah, it enhances the experience. You know,
Yeah,
I want to
sure.
try it out.
Okay.
Vocal shortcuts lets users create custom phrases that Siri will listen for, and you know, so you can say. You don't have to use the phrase, you know, hey computer. You can just say, I don't know, unlock the front doors, and then it'll you know, if you have a Siri shortcut set up, then it'll run it for you.
Oh, that's pretty cool,
Which is-
actually.
Oh yeah. Listen for atypical speech, expand speech recognition for a wider range of speech patterns. So it'll, you know, your phone will better understand you if you have cerebral palsy or ALS or a stroke.
Huh.
This next one, I'm pretty interested in.
Yeah. This sounds
Vehicle
wild.
motion cues. This is designed to prevent you from getting car sick if you're using your phone in the car. Quote, with vehicle motion cues, animated dots on the edges of the screen represent changes in vehicle motion to help reduce sensory conflict. So you don't get motion sick if you're trying to read. Isn't that neat?
Yeah, it'd be useful for kids too. Like, I wonder if this is going to be on iPad OS too, probably at some point.
Yeah. There's a few really cool features for Vision Pro. Like live captions, Apple debuted last year or maybe the year before. Live captions like lets you turn on like an on-screen subtitle thing that'll instantly like generate subtitles if you're listening to a podcast or if you're in a FaceTime call. But on the Vision Pro, live captions work like, you know, in real life for everything. So you can be talking to somebody and it'll give you like live subtitles.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's getting some other features like Smart Invert is like, you know, the accessibility feature where it inverts the colors of your screen. On Vision Pro, if you turn on Smart Invert, it inverts your entire field of view.
Oh.
I don't know why you would want that, but you can. You know, dim
Yeah.
flashing lights. That reduces like flashing if you're like playing a game or watching a video on your phone. But, you know, on Vision Pro, you know, if you're walking through like I don't know, your living room and somebody's putting on like a rave, you know, it'll turn off the flashing lights for you.
Hey,
All right.
that happens.
Me
Yeah.
too.
What do you think about that? Cool
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, all great stuff. So, is all of this stuff was accessibility type stuff, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought because I was like, I'm noticing a theme here. I don't know if all these features are intended for accessibility, but it seems like all of them are. It's tremendously surprising that they're able to get the eye tracking thing working on iOS. Like, wasn't that like the whole pitch for Vision OS? It's like cutting edge technology, measuring your retina movements. It's like, oh no, we can do that with the camera on the front of your phone. It's like, well, wait a second, I just spent $3,500 on this damn thing. Like, I could have done it with my phone.
I wonder if it's going to require a device that uses Face ID.
That would be my guess. But
So
Even-
iPad Air gets left out.
well, possibly. Time will tell. I'm just surprised they were able to get this working at all. And my guess is that it is not maybe as accurate as it is in Vision Pro because Vision Pro has like actual hardware and stuff that's all over, pointed at your eyeballs. But
That's an inch away from your eyes too.
yeah. Well, that's the key. You got to hold the phone like right in front of your face like that. But even if it is 80% as good, if you can't use your hands and now you can interact with, I'm going to guess this is coming to iPad OS in some permutation, but you could do this on your phone. You could do this on your iPad maybe at some point. That's a huge win. So now you can do these things without having to use your hands. It's pretty cool. Okay. Big gulps, huh? All right.
They do some pretty amazing stuff with accessibility, and it's funny how much it's useful in other situations too. You know,
Yeah.
as opposed to just I have a specific problem that this is designed to solve.
You know what problem Apple has, Lewis?
I can think of one,
Tim Cook's
two.
Tim Cook's gonna die. And it
God,
could
you
happen.
back again with the croak.
And it could happen at any moment. It could have happened already. Have we checked the news ticker?
Oh my God.
And when he does, they're gonna have a big problem on their hands. Not on his hands, he'll be gone. But in 30 or 40
they'll be all
years,
set.
In 30 or 40
You're
years, when Tim Cook dies, they're going to need someone to replace him, and they don't know who it's going to be. And it's got to be someone good because Tim Cook did it, man. He took the mantle. He took something. He took an impossible task, if you think about it. He took over for Steve Jobs. That's got to be one of the hardest things anyone has ever done, to take over this iconic figure and run the company as well as Tim Cook has is truly incredible. And it's going to be hard to replace him. Now, I always said that I thought Johnny Ive should take over, but there's no way he's doing that now. He's probably working like 5 hours a week. He's enjoying all the hundreds of millions of dollars that he made. He's not coming back. He's not coming back to Apple. So who's it going to be? They need someone with a powerful presence. And you know what they say about powerful-looking people, right, Lewis? Their chin leads the way.
Is that right?
I just
it's
made
all
that
about the chin for you.
I just made that up, but it sounds like it could be real, doesn't it?
Yeah. Okay.
Please,
Well,
save me, Lewis. I'll keep talking. Save me.
Yeah, that's a big question. Who will succeed Tim Cook to become Apple's next CEO? Apple reportedly has a plan. Two of them, actually. Plan A kicks in if Cook steps off the wrong curb. That was actually what he said something about in the near future. Plan B goes into effect if Cook hangs around for a few more years, enabling a well-managed handoff to his successor.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what do you want to hear about first, Plan A or Plan B?
Well, let's hear about Plan B first.
Plan B is the long range. Like, this is the guy that this report indicates is the most likely person to become the next Apple CEO, as long as there's not a disaster.
Yeah.
That is, hold your breath, John Ternus.
Wait, he's Plan
Apple's,
B?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought, okay, that's interesting.
No, Plan A is the short term. Plan A is like, hey, if Tim Cook gets hit by a bus today, there's somebody.
That seems like that would be Plan B, because that's probably not going to happen.
It's probably backward. Okay,
it sounds backward.
Plan 1 and Plan 2. How about that?
Well, there's no difference. I mean, that's like saying Plan B. It's there's
Plan
still
A and Plan 1.
Plan 1A. And
How
plan
about this?
1
emergency plan
and B
and actual plan.
All right, that makes way more sense. Yeah, okay. Because
the emergency plan would be Jeff Williams.
Let me see if I can bring this up.
Currently the chief operating officer.
Yeah.
And he's the person that people say would take the reins if something happened to, like, if Tim Cook had a heart attack today or whatever.
Yeah. And he's Apple's COO.
COO, yeah. And the problem with him is that he's almost the same age as Cook. Cook is 63. And Tim Cook has already said in interviews he doesn't plan to be CEO for another 10 years, which is a fairly long time. Jeff Williams is the go-to if Apple has to put somebody in place in an instant. But Plan B is supposedly John Ternus, and there's a lot of reasons. For one thing, he's more than a decade younger than either Cook and Williams. He's been taking the center stage in a lot of their presentations lately.
Mm-hmm.
This report comes from, you'll never guess who, Bloomberg. They quote some people in this thing, some sources and all that. One thing is Tim likes him a lot because he can give a good presentation. He's very mild-mannered, never puts anything into an email that is controversial, and is a very reticent decision maker.
He's got a very good squint too, which is important.
Sounds very Tim Cook-like. He smiles a lot.
Yeah.
He smiles, and his smile looks a little bit more genuine than Tim Cook's.
Oh, for sure. I don't even know if Tim Cook has an actual smile. It's just like what he's trained his facial muscles to do.
Initiate.
Actually, that's not fair or true. Every time Tim Cook sees a negotiation come through, right? He's like, "Oh yeah, y'all!" Like when he's able to negotiate down to like 0.0000000 decimal point, and he save like that percentage of cost on a component. Like he's all smiles all day. It makes his whole day.
There was like one story. I don't remember where I read this, but there was like one story that said that Tim Cook has such a laser precise eyesight or like vision that like he can see And like just because
You
because
can
of his
see into your
training
mind.
from like because of his training as like operating officer, he can like look at a table and tell you if there's like a few millimeters of bend in the middle of the table. And like apparently there's like a thing where like he gets his desk in his office replaced like every 6 months because it starts to flex a little bit and it bothers him.
What? Where did you hear this?
That can't be
I
true.
I read it like it was a few years ago, but like
Although he looks
somebody
like a
asked
man
him,
with eagle eyes, doesn't he? He does.
somebody asked him like, so what's that like? And Tim Cook said, my life is a living hell.
He's
Like I
got
can
like
look at
some
this
kind of
table right that we're sitting at right
OCD.
now and see that it's slightly flexing.
Wow.
Yikes.
I don't remember where I was going with that, but
Well, welcome to my world, Griffin. Welcome to my world. Anything else on that?
Well, Turnus has he's overseeing hardware engineering on iPhone, iPad, AirPods, Mac, and the Mac's transition to Apple Silicon. One thing that I thought was interesting about this, there were quotes in this story of people saying like maybe he's like not as well respected by top engineers, doesn't seem like a real strong decision maker. I love this. People blame him for the MacBook Pro Touch Bar.
Well, if that's true, then he's lost my vote.
Hey, you know what? I think the Touch Bar was awesome.
Yeah, but the problem is there's only like
Nobody cared.
1,000 people that actually believes that, Lewis.
Right, I know. They also say that Apple Silicon would have happened faster if he hadn't been in the loop there. But here's the kicker. This comes from yet another anonymous source. Quote, Eddie Q, the Apple executive known as Cook's closest confidant, has privately told colleagues that Turnus should be the next CEO, according to a person with knowledge of the matter.
Huh, there you go. That seals it. He's got Eddie's vote. He's got mine. They need someone young, man. They need some fresh perspective in there.
Yeah, what
Like
do you think
somebody
about
that-
Turnus in these events?
Well, look, he's one of the youngest that they have. He's got
So
the cool
young is your-
factor.
Main qualification. Looks cool.
Well,
Looks
look,
like
if
you
you're
showed
going
up
to
at
hand
your
the
party, he
reins,
looked like he'd be a fun guy to talk to.
I wouldn't say that's true. No, I wouldn't
Really?
say that's true. No, it looks pretty serious. It looks like
He's always got a smile on his face.
yeah.
I
Well,
think
I'm
he
not saying
seems
he's
like one of the more legitimately enthusiastic people about Apple products. A lot of people in these presentations look a little bit like they might be,
That's what I'm saying,
watching
man.
too many
He's got that youthful
infomercials.
energy, and I love the fact that the bottom of his head is almost as wide as the top.
The chin. He's got all the chin is in.
Dude,
Yeah,
look at that thing. That might be the widest chin I've ever seen. It is
Show this on the
probably.
video.
I'm showing it, man. I got a picture of him
That's
of him
chin.
up right now.
He's got it.
Yeah.
It's funny. I never actually noticed just how big his chin is, and now I'm never going to be able to unsee it. Thanks.
It's
Thanks a lot.
huge. I mean, that is a manly chin right there. It is like 4 or 5 inches across at the point.
it must take him so long to shave. Like he must spend so much time shaving. Like, you have all that acreage,
That's right.
Probably takes him more time to shave than it takes for me to do my hair.
And yeah,
Oh my
it might be
God.
easier because his face
It's
is only
perfectly
in
flat and smooth.
it's right angles only. So
Hewn from solid granite.
God, look at that thing, man.
He
It
just
looks
goes
like
over to a sander and just lays his face down on the left and the right and the front. He's
sparks
good.
flying off everywhere. Yeah, he could have been the Marlboro man. Look at him.
All this talk about this in the past week, I was watching, some clips from an old Apple presentation. I think I was gussing up one of our Today in Apple History posts or something like that. But for some reason, I had an occasion to watch an old one, and it's like Tim Cook introducing something. It was the iPad Pro, the first iPad Pro, and then he was handing it off to Phil Schiller. And you know what? My God, I miss those live events.
Me too.
I'm tired of these canned ones. They just the more of them that happen, the less I care about them, and the more formulaic they feel, the more like an infomercial, and there's something missing, man. I don't the live, I don't know if it's you don't know if something's going to screw up or if it just seems more real, more human, right? I mean, I feel like Tim Cook goes into, full marketing mode in these things, and it's
Yeah, he's not good live, and I
It's
think even more than that, I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to move away from having one face represent the company, just like when they had Steve Jobs. It's the same thing that Disney's doing. I mean, they're moving away from like the vision of Walt Disney, and they're moving away from identifying with him. Now, they're not completely disconnecting him, but like they almost never talk about him anymore. And they don't want to hang that off of one person. But the problem is, especially with, maybe this is not a problem because only guys like us actually watch the keynote. But like, it's like watching SNL. The more you get to know somebody and their style, the more you enjoy their performance on SNL. And if they bring in new people every single show, and you're like, who are these people? Every time I watch an episode, it's like a new person that I've never seen before. Then you're just not as connected to it. Like, people like to have connections with the people that they're seeing on the screen and feel like they know them at some level. And if it's always somebody new, like what Apple's doing, then it does kind of make it more corporate. Because now it's just, well, you know, John Brownclover from the HomePod division. It's like, okay, cool. Last week it was, you know, Tub Grovesman. And now he's gone. It's like every single week you're bringing in a new person, and I never really, I don't know who this person is. It's like, oh, they're a program manager. Cool. Like, I want a face, man. I want a chin. I want something that I can gravitate towards, that I actually, like Steve Jobs, you were in for a performance, and you liked that, and you wanted that, and it made you feel connected with the company.
They were also just, I don't know, there was something more.
You know, they tell a joke in the live events, and you
slow-paced.
hear the crowd like laugh back. You know, like a laugh track. You know, in the live events, you don't get that. There's just like the awkward silence. You know, having a laugh track, you know, it really helps with those sorts of things. You know, anytime I have to go back and watch a keynote when I'm researching an article or something, like, you know, I mean, that's like 45 minutes gone because I just, you know, they're really enthralling. I like watching them.
Yeah, they have that
Just had
live
a much
energy,
slower,
man.
They had a much slower pace too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, these
Yeah.
new ones are just like zing, 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 zing. You know, when I watch them, I feel like I'm watching a ping pong match. You know, and it's just
It's hard. It's harder to write as like someone who covers these too, because like, you know, during the live events, like, you know, they're designed to have journalists in the room live blogging about it. But when we do like the live Apple events, like the iPad one last week, I mean, I just had to like pause it, and I didn't finish the keynote for like an extra hour because I was still writing about the dang iPad.
Yeah, they're very dense, but that's almost kind of what you need to do in order to keep people engaged in something that's not live, because it loses the energy, and so it has to be faster paced to like keep people watching it. I don't know. We have so many stories left. I don't even know if we're going to finish all this stuff. Like,
Do you want me to just take the most interesting one out of the three?
yeah, let's just do that, and then let's. Although we teased some of these other ones, so I feel like maybe we have to talk about them. Yeah,
Let me tell you about the iPhone 17 lineup
let's
first.
do it. Let's do it. Let's do that. Yeah.
So we already kind of know what the iPhone 16 is going to be like this fall. Apple reportedly plans some big changes for next year's iPhone 17 lineup. The changes include a smaller dynamic island and a, quote, more complex aluminum design. But here's where it gets interesting. The company might revamp its lineup with the addition of the iPhone 17 Slim.
Oh.
They've always kind of like struggled, like ever since they had the capacity to make 4 phones a year. The fourth phone, they don't really know what to do there. Like, there's the regular iPhone, the iPhone Plus, it doesn't seem to be doing very well. The iPhone Mini, sadly, my heart pours out for that every single day. You know, the iPhone Pro and Pro Max, that's doing great. But like, what do they do with the fourth one? Well, Jeff Pugh thinks Apple will reshuffle its lineup in 2025 with a slim model. As the name indicates, the phone will seemingly stand out in the lineup with a slim design. It would replace the iPhone 16 Plus. This corroborates a recent rumor suggesting that the 2025 model will have a slightly smaller display than this year's. Pugh also says Apple will debut a, quote, more complex aluminum design on the iPhone 17, 17 Slim, and 17 Pro. So currently the iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max are both titanium, but only the iPhone 17 Pro Max will continue using titanium. And it will get a narrow dynamic island. Those two features will remain exclusive to the biggest one. All 4 iPhone 17 models might feature a 24 megapixel front-facing camera. You know, ProMotion displays, always on support, coming to all of them. But what do we think about an iPhone 17 Slim?
I don't know, man. That means they're gonna have to slim down the battery, and I'm like, I don't see them doing that. They're gonna want to get as much battery life out as they can. So I just don't really. I find this kind of hard to digest. What do you
Well,
think,
a lot of
Louis?
people,
Yeah.
a lot of people really like the new iPad Pros, how skinny and thin they are. And honestly, since they switched to like the modern design with the iPhone 12, they haven't been getting thinner at all. They've stayed about the same thickness. I think they've actually gotten a little thicker,
Yeah.
especially with the camera. Like the camera is huge on it.
Yeah, ridiculous.
So maybe with that fourth model of iPhone, it's basically still a free space for them. It's like their experimental spot. Maybe they're going to try and see what it's like if they try to optimize a phone for thinness again.
I
think the iPhone,
wouldn't mind a
I think
thinner
the
phone.
iPhone
Yeah.
6 is the skinniest iPhone they've never made. And that was like, 2014. They haven't made an iPhone so skinny in 10 years.
I'm over the thinness thing. Like when
Me too. Can't stop eating.
Johnny I was here, he was all about thin and light, thin and light, thin and light. And thin and light is great, but as long as you're not sacrificing too much to get there. I don't want you pulling out every single port that belongs on a computer and reducing battery life by 40% just because you want to make it thin. That doesn't make any sense. Like thin is great, but it needs to be balanced with everything else that someone needs on a computer or a phone. And if there are people that would sacrifice battery life for a thin phone, like that's great. I don't know how many people there would be that would do that, but I imagine there are some. I don't think I would sacrifice battery life for a thinner phone. I think, especially with the reduction in size and weight of the new 15 series phones, I'm happy with where they are now. I'll always take thinner, lighter. Well, particularly lighter. I don't even really care about thinner. I just want to have lighter. As light as you can make it is what I would like, but that's just me. I don't know, Louis, what do you think?
I mean, with the screen size continuing to get bigger, it's not like they're losing that much area. Like it's still probably more voluminous than like the iPhone 5S or the iPhone 4. So they still have space for more battery, and all the components have gotten like smaller. As Apple Silicon has advanced, the actual circuit board inside, and especially since they switched over to eSIM, like they can have a greater proportion of the inside be battery.
Yeah, that might very well may be true. And so if they could fit the same amount of battery, but they could smush it down more and just have it spread out more inside the phone because they have the extra space. I mean, that actually sounds kind of nice. But you know what, Louis?
What?
I'm tired of having a phone that's just not folded. That's what I really want. Like all these phones, it's like, oh, look, it's unfolded. I take it out. I can just use it. That's boring, Louis. That's not what I want.
Can't be folded. Unfoldable.
I want an extra step.
You can't even, and if you do try to fold it, guess what? You can't use it anymore. I found that out the hard way, Louis.
I have all of these square pockets in my pants, these
Yeah.
perfectly square pockets that are very thick, and my phone is just too skinny and too rectangular shaped. What am I supposed to put in there?
That's right. I buy my jeans from Costco. They say Kirkland on the label. I could fit a cell phone from 1985 in my pocket, Louis, and that's what I'm looking for.
Well, you might be in luck. You might be able to get a folding iPhone.
No.
You might be. You might be out of
When?
luck.
When though?
2026 is the latest date.
Oh my! I'm gonna have to deal with thin until then.
Yeah.
I've been waiting so long, Louis. I just want to fold it.
You know what? Oddly
Yeah.
enough, a guy on my darts team has a folding phone. And I
Yeah.
looked down on the table yesterday and I saw it sitting there. I'm like, oh my God, somebody's phone is broken in half. I'm like, oh, wait.
Someone said on this phone who
that's
broke
on
it.
purpose. It's on purpose. It's intentional. They look weird. It's like, it seemed like it was an inch tall. Anyway.
Yeah, they're
So-
super thick, and they always have that weird seam in the middle.
Yeah. Can't bear to look at them.
And they always break after 6 months.
And then there's that.
So this rumor comes from Jeff Hugh, again, who's going to have to get some kind of MVP award for this week's show. So he says the first iPhone with a folding screen will go into production in 2026. Second such report in recent months could be a sign Apple is really ready to move ahead with the product. They've been talking about it and doing patents and everything for ages. This is from our story. Those who resist the idea of foldable devices, that's people like you, Irfan, usually question how they could be better than current ones. The device Apple has on the drawing board reportedly would come with a display significantly larger than any previous iPhone, between 7.9 inches and 8.3 inches.
Sounds perfect for my pocket.
And as we point out, that's impractical for a non-folding phone.
Yeah.
Impractical. It's impractical. Supposedly would not take the place of current models in Apple's product lineup. It'll be something like an iPhone Fold in addition to an iPhone Pro and regular iPhone. But this is going to be for the, you won't believe this, quote, ultra high-end market, close quote. People who are willing to pay even higher prices for a cutting-edge product.
Sheesh. How much
Never
more?
could have guessed that one.
Yeah.
Let's see. We've been hearing about it since 2024. Blah blah blah. Trying to make a device as slim as current iPhone. Once foldable screen without a visible crease. That seems like table stakes to me. No visible crease. I don't know how. I remember when they first were talking about bendable glass. I'm like, what? What?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, you know what else might be foldable? And before that, actually. And I would say that I'm even more interested in this product than I would be a foldable iPhone. That's a foldable MacBook.
Oh.
Is this one from Jeff Pugh too?
It
is.
Mr. Popular.
Who is this guy coming out of nowhere? According to Jeff Pugh from Haitong International Securities, we don't know how accurate this guy is, do we? A 20.3-inch foldable MacBook will go into production near the end of 2025. This isn't the first time we've heard of this device. Oh, yeah, we've definitely talked about this before. Analyst Ming-Chi Kuo talked about it in March, and Ross Young said in early 2022 that a 20-inch MacBook is in the first stages of development. But Pugh is the first to say that the notebook tablet will come out in 2025, which is next year, as reported by the Voldemort of tech blogs, they who champion names. All right, 9to5 Mac. I hate even saying it. Pugh's sources are in Apple's component supply chain, where he claims there's increasing talk of the device. The folding MacBook screen supposedly won't supplant current models, so just like the phone, it's going to be a unit for the ultra high-end market willing to pay even higher prices. Unfolded, it can be held in the lap while the user writes or draws with a stylus. Steve Jobs' dream right there. Or it could be set on a table with a Bluetooth keyboard and a mouse as though it were a portable Mac. There you go. That's it.
It's weird calling this a foldable MacBook because it sounds more like a foldable iPad.
And it may turn out to be that, Louis. It may turn out to be exactly that. Something that is just a bigger iPad. Because you can't make an iPad much bigger without making it kind of unruly to carry around. Like, you can't have like a 20-inch iPad. That thing's ridiculous. What are you going to do with that? Carry it under your arm? Put it in your backpack? Like, no way. Get out of here. Get out of my face. You got to have a way to make it more portable. And people can handle thickness, but thickness and the length? No.
Oh, dear.
I'm dragging this somewhere, but I'm going to leave it there. That sounds like something that Mrs. D would want to talk more about, but we're not going to go there. Instead, I'm going to go ahead and press this button.
Merciful.
And say that's it. That's all the CultCast we have for you guys this week. But you know what? The fun continues. We're hanging out in the Cult Club, and you too can hang out in the very exclusive Cult Club. Support.thecultcast.com. I almost forgot the URL. Support.thecultcast.com. If you want to support the show, support us, and come hang out in the Cult Club with us. One of these days, we're going to do a special event. Me and Griffin are. He hasn't agreed to it yet, but I think we're going to make it happen. And we would love to see you there for it. He's making all sorts of uninterpretable facial expressions, so I'm not sure what he's thinking. I guess we'll have to find out after the show.
Oh, I do it with you. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's what I thought. I figured maybe. Something short. Maybe like 5 or 6 minutes long, just so we could say that we did it, but not something that took any time for us to put together.
That sounds about right.
The CultCast way. I'm just joking. All right, let's see. That's all the CultCast we have for you guys this week. But you know what? New episodes of the CultCast come out every Thursday night. I want to thank everyone for listening and for hanging out live, and we will see you guys next time. I gave away our secret formula. Now people know it. Don't prepare. Don't wear your glasses so you can't even read the show notes. Just show up and completely wing it. See what happens. That's why you end up spending 10 minutes talking about a movie no one liked and no one saw that starred Nick Cage. What did they call it? Was that it? The Leprechaun Who Frowned, maybe? All right, everyone. Bye, y'all.